What's going on, everyone? This is Steven with Men's Health Unscripted. Today, we have a special interview with survivor and advocate of one of the more rare yet aggressive forms of cancer facing men. Everyone, please give a warm welcome to our guest, Joe Forelli. Joe, how we doing, man?
Good. Thanks for having me, Steve.
Absolutely. We appreciate you coming in. So we just want to know, facing testicular cancer, what were some of the signs you knew something was going wrong? What actions did you take?
So at first, it was just more discomfort. There was really no pain. And I thought it was probably more like a hernia or like something called torsion.
Okay.
So I let it go on for a while, like maybe a month or two. And then finally, it's kind of embarrassing. I had my mom come down to visit me, and she saw I was limping at the beach and was like, "Hey, what's going on with you?" And I was like, "Hey, honestly, I got some discomfort going on."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Just do me a favor, go to the doctor." So then I go to the doctor, and then I was telling him what's going on. And he's like, "Oh, it sounds like it's probably a hernia," kind of like what I thought. And then finally, when he touched it, got me an ultrasound, he's like, "Oh, it's probably testicular cancer." So,
jeez.
Yeah.
Were you getting regular checkups before then, or were you kind of avoiding the doctors like most men out there?
I hadn't been a doctor in years.
Oh my goodness.
To be honest. Yeah, so it's one of those things. And I just thought it would go away. I kept just pushing it off, like, oh, this is just, it's something that happened at the gym. It'll stop. It'll go away. And it just
kept lingering.
Yeah.
So it lingered for how long before you took action?
Probably 2 to 3 months. It was longer than I should have gone, but I was lucky. It still wasn't too aggressive by the time I found it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So like when you finally went to the doctor, what was their take? What was the most difficult part of? Did they break the news to you immediately? How'd that diagnosis go down?
I mean, the second the doctor actually physically inspected me, he knew right away. He touched it. He's like, "Oh, we got to get you an ultrasound today." So he knew. Yeah. So it all happened really quickly, which was good and bad because you have no information on it at all, and you're kind of afraid. You don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Then you have no connection. You don't know who to get information from outside of the hospital, and it's just so hard to understand. It's so academic when it comes at you. So the hardest part was just finding information and knowing I'd be okay.
Yeah. So that information, did it come outside of the clinic mainly? Did you do a lot of research by yourself? I know going down the Google rabbit hole can be a scary place to go.
That was the worst thing to do, to be honest with you.
It always is.
Yeah.
It never works out. It never works out.
But the best place I got it from was I ended up like getting in touch with friends of friends that had gone through it. Specifically, one guy, the same exact type of cancer, the strain of seminoma it was.
Okay.
And he just kind of walked me through exactly what happened with him, and that just made me feel much better. And he like kind of assured me from the start, like, "Hey, you're gonna be fine, man. Like, yeah, it's gonna suck for a few months, but like you're gonna be good as new in like a year or so."
Okay.
So, yeah.
And when you say the strain of seminoma, just to make it as clear as possible, there's seminoma and then there's non-seminoma.
Yeah.
And you had.
I had a seminoma.
Seminomas. That's the slower of the two, or
this is the slower of the two.
The slowest two. Well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So do you find that support system was really more important than anything out there? You had people helping you out.
I mean, my friends and family were huge too. To get me wrong.
Yeah.
Just they don't know what to say. They don't know what to tell you because it's just you haven't gone through it. So just having someone that actually lived it tell you you'd be okay and tell you what's going to be like.
Yeah.
Made a life a lot easier.
Well, yeah, being one of the more rare cancers and just facing men, it's like 1 in 250 men face that. And I know, God, I couldn't imagine like hearing that news. So like trying to cope with that and going out and finding that kind of information, was it like a character building experience for you? What did you go through emotionally? Like if one of our viewers was just diagnosed with it and, what's something that they may be experiencing, what's going through their thought process? How do they organize their thoughts and to take rational steps? What did you do because you're good, you're recovered, you're now advocating for it. How do people get from shit to I'm okay?
Right. So at first, it was the first time in my life I ever experienced a claustrophobic feeling. Like the doctor tells you the news and then it really felt like the walls were coming in on you. It's like a crushing experience.
Yeah.
So you go home and you don't know where to look. So you kind of sit there and you sulk for a little bit, and then you start feeling. For me, I started feeling sorry for myself, and then you start feeling guilty for feeling sorry for yourself. So that was that was the hardest part mentally and emotionally. It's like there's things worse than that out there. Or like any time in the past where I'd been sick or gotten hurt, it'd been my own fault. Playing sports, been snowboarding, something like that.
Right.
This time it was like, oh, this just happened out of nowhere and happened to me. Why? So once you get past that, like woe is me attitude,
yeah,
and then you start saying, okay, what are my odds to beat this? And mine were super high. It was 95%. So that made
That's
me,
good.
it's like, it's me hear that. It's like, okay, like, why am I even worried? And then,
Those are encouraging stats, but
Yeah,
you
it's
still have every right to be worried.
yeah. But what also helped was like a month before I was diagnosed with, one of my best friends diagnosed with lymphoma. So, and just watching the strength that he had going through something way worse than I had helped me. And I was like, okay, like if he's okay, I can be okay.
Yeah.
Then you just kind of, then you get information from the right sources.
Yeah.
You ask your doctor questions, even if they make you feel a little crazy when you ask them. Because again, like they can answer it as far as like academically, but if they haven't had it themselves or lived it, it's really hard for them to tell you if things should feel a certain way or you should think a certain way.
Okay. Yeah. Not to downplay any other, one cancer versus the next, but there are more aggressive forms and there are forms that are easier to track, by advocating for getting your checkups, staying up to date with your doctor's recommendations, and self-checks is a big thing in testicular cancer, which, there's a lot going on down there. So you may not, people may not be trained to know what is what, but if something feels different, if they're feeling that nagging, if they're feeling lumps, if something is clearly not right, I mean, it's time to take action. Right. And so I think you had a great initiative in doing that, but you mentioned a lot of your information not coming or, half and half from the doctors. What could doctors and clinics do to improve that educational output, right? To make it easier for people?
So I think the first thing is honestly putting them in contact with people that have experienced it. So I think if I went to the doctor and said, hey, like we have support groups, and they do, they have therapists and like, psychologists you can talk to there for what you're going through. But when you're going through that, you kind of feel crazy. You don't want to go to them. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying you're crazy if you go there, but when you're going through that experience, that's the last thing you want to do is to be made feel like you're kind of losing it. So if I was put in contact with people that had lived it, I think that would have helped. But also, I think just getting information out there to people that went through it. I was always told that, I'm sure you too, that you would feel a lump or something like that when you felt it. And I mean, I never did self-exams. I don't know about you. Never did it. So, I mean, now I do, but
I was scared when I was a kid. I was like, when I first learned about it, like that was actually one of the things that, like, when my dad knew that I was scared of testicular cancer, that was like his anti-drug thing for me. He was like, drugs give you testicular cancer. And I was like, well, damn. I'm never doing drugs. So it's effective. It's scary, man. It's scary.
Yeah. It's really more the discomfort. If they were to tell kids when they're teaching them about cancer, especially testicular, is that hey, it's not just lumps or pain. It could just be anything that feels different or weird. Yeah, and that is what it was for me. It just didn't feel normal. Yeah, and I just thought it was it's like I said, it's something in the gym. It'll go away, and then
Jeez, yeah. At least you took action on it, man. I mean, that's a lot of scary, a lot of moving parts down there, and you don't know what's going on. Again, it may be a hernia, but it's important that if you're feeling something definitely down in that region in your groin, take action on it. So I know you kind of mentioned the emotional action that someone or perspective that someone might have by being recently diagnosed, but what advice do you have to someone who doesn't know where to go? Like I know you found your support groups. Is there any more you can speak to on that? So
yeah, for me, I was lucky. I was put in contact directly with people that lived it, but not everyone's going to know someone or going to be put in contact with someone that has had it, or people that are open about having it. Because that was my other issue. They kept asking me, was it genetic? And I'm like, well, if it is, no one in my family's ever told us they've had it. Mm-hmm. So I do think that there are plenty of sources online, or like on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, like, support groups. You can go on there and speak to people there. So if you're diagnosed and you don't know what to do, the most important thing is to stay calm and just know that in this situation, you're most likely going to be okay. Yeah. I mean, obviously not all cancers are the same, but just get to your doctor right away. Yeah. If anything feels off, just get to the doctor. And then once you do learn, then just start speaking to people. Yeah. And asking questions.
And I know when we were talking, even before filming, you said you acted on it so quickly that you were able to avoid chemotherapy treatment. I don't know if that's something you want to get into.
I was very fortunate. Yeah. They caught it stage 1 for me. And I waited 2 months of discomfort before going, and they still caught it in stage 1. So But I was fortunate. So right now
Yeah.
I'm 4 years removed, so I'm still in active surveillance.
Okay.
So in another year, I can be deemed cancer-free for good.
Okay, that's
But
good, man.
up until now, I've had no reason to have chemo or radiation or anything, so I've been super lucky. So the earlier you catch it, the quicker you can be deemed cancer-free or not go through such like strenuous treatments.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to go through. I had the same strain as Lance Armstrong. So it travels. Like he let it go on for a while. And he knew about it when I ended up reading about him, obviously.
Was his was the Sonoma?
Yeah. So
Was it?
the path it takes is like from the testicles to, I believe, the lower back and then up into the lungs and into the brain. And he was competing and he didn't want to stop competing. So I think it got all the way to his lungs and brain and he still beat it because it's so receptive to chemo and radiation. This form of cancer. Yeah. But
well, I know a lot of people, and like even myself, fall victim to that. Just, you don't want to go to the doctor because you don't want to know what is wrong. But in that situation, I mean, by not taking action, you avoided a lifelong, however indefinite term of chemo.
Right.
So, and then that's world scarier because that comes with its own problems. But I really commend you for being such an advocate and definitely coming on the show to talk about this. And I know you mentioned some organizations that are big promoters. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you for the organizations that helped you?
You can reach out to me on Instagram or even through you guys.
Okay.
And two organizations that I follow on Instagram that are great with this is the Testicular Cancer Society, and then I think Testes Cancer. I don't know what the exact Instagrams are. We can maybe get together afterwards and post about it. But those two are a great source of information.
Yeah, once we get that, we'll put that in the description. Yeah. We'll also put his tag name, Joe Forelli. Again, when we look at like the American Cancer Society, that's a big conglomerate organization, and you get something like testicular cancer that's 1 in 250, and the cure rate is great, but as rare as it is, it can be aggressive or not aggressive. There's a lot of misinformation out there that people need to be able to sift through. So by you coming on the show, talking about your emotional journey, how you've navigated to find the correct resources, like that means the world to us. And I know if there's one person behind that camera with a recent diagnosis or a loved one that has that, right, their hearts go out to you. And we really appreciate having you on the show. And before we wrap it up, what advice can you give to men who feel like they're on top of the world, they're in tip-top shape, they take care of themselves, they have no reason to feel like they need to go to the doctor? What advice can you give to them?
I would just really say open up. If you feel anything at all, the most minor thing is going wrong, go to the doctor, go see what's going on with you. Just make sure you're good. Because even if you feel fantastic, I felt great. I was 26, felt as healthy as can be. And to go and wait and find out, it was crushing, Yeah.
Because I know like you're physically active and you work out and camp and CrossFit or whatever you're doing over there, but that didn't play a role for it at all. So like no matter how in shape you were, this happens.
Right. So all the young men get it. So, even if you think you're in perfect shape, you should still go, get checked once a year, even if nothing's going on. Yeah. But especially if you have anything feeling wrong, you got to go get checked. That's like the most invaluable advice we have on here. Guys, this is Joe Forelli. We appreciated having him on. It was a great interview. Give us a follow, like the video, Men's Health Unscripted. We appreciate having you guys on. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Joe.